Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Junior Pinales. Today um, I'm with FIU ACM. Today I'm gonna teach you guys about how to become a JavaScript full stack developer. Before we start, one of the prerequisites for this um, workshop that I'm doing online is you guys should know or have a basic knowledge about HTML, CSS. We're not going to use HTML, CSS that much because we're going to use other technologies that replace them, but at least you should have a basic understanding of HTML, CSS, which is very simple and not very hard to pick up. But like I said, I'm going to cover a lot of stuff, not deeply into them, but when you put them all together, it's kind of like a really big topic, which is it's all called full stack JavaScript developer. So what's a full stack JavaScript developer? It's basically a person that knows how to code backend and front end. What is backend and what is front end? Front end, it's everything what the user sees, everything that you see in the browser, all the things that the user can see and click and feel. It's called the front end. And there's actually people that specialize on that. They're called front end engineers. The backend, it's the people who it's not the people. It's the backend. It's the code that deals with the business logic, that has the servers, that has the databases that store all the user information. So all the data and stuff, it's basically in the backend. The way they communicate to each other is that the front end usually requests information from the backend, and then the backend just sends the information. Basically, like, just imagine like Google. Every time you do a search query, that information is getting to getting sent to the backend, and then Google is saying, here are the results. So in order to go do the app, we're gonna build a to-do app, a full stack to-do app, front end and back end. You're gonna need, for the back end, you're gonna need mainly MongoDB, and you're also gonna need to have Node on your computer. So I know last week we installed at the ACM meeting we installed Node, but we have installed Mongo. I included some links in the comments so you can install Mongo, and also Node if you have installed. If you want to check if you have installed MongoDB, if you want to check if you have installed it, then just go to the command line, type Node, type node-v. If you want to check if you install Mongo, then do mongo-version. Once you have installed these two engines that you need, Mongo, Node, it's an engine, and then Mongo, it's a database, a non-relational database. Everything is structured in terms of objects. You want to go ahead and go to my GitHub repository. Let me talk about a little bit what we're going to do. If I haven't said, I think I said a little bit, but so for the backend, we're going to use Mongo, we're going to use Node, and we're going to use Express, we're going to use ES6. That's basically our backend. Express is a server, it's a middleware server that's going to be on top of Node. And then ES6 is just the way we code in JavaScript. From the front end, we're mainly going to use React. So, like I said, like I was explaining, you're going to go to my GitHub and you're going to click on React to do setup. And you're going to clone this. I'm going to use SSH. I can use SSH because I already have SSH set up at GitHub, but if you don't have SSH set up, then you use HTTPS. I'm going to go here. I'm going to type the command git clone. Paste the URL. There you go. And then we're gonna rename this to just React. change to React ToDo, and you notice I say it's master. The reason why I want you guys to download this is because I already have set up a couple of things that takes quite some time to set up, and honestly they're kind of tedious. I'm gonna explain to you now. The next thing you want to do is just open your text editor. Today I started using VS Code because I was using Atom before and it crashed. So it's actually not. It's crashed on me a couple of times. So I decided to just go away with Atom, leave Atom alone, and then just get a new text editor. So I'm now using VS Code. You guys should check it out. It's pretty cool. Just wait until it reloads. It loads all the code, and I'm gonna explain you what's going on here. So, after you have all this load up, I'm gonna explain what each one of these files is. Git ignore. It's just so we can ignore the files that we don't want to be uploaded to Git. I'm pretty sure you guys know already from that last week. The gulp file is just the build process that I already set up for you guys, and I'm gonna explain to you what this is. It's basically stuff like configurations and builds and watch files and servers. The index is what the main file that we use, and then this actually loads our files and then starts our server. Package.json. This is probably the most important file, and I'm going to explain to you guys now why it's the most important file. So the next step to do is npm install. Now, why is this package.json the most important file? It's because not the most important, but one of the most important is because all the dependencies, everything that you need in order to run your application that I already did, it's here. All the dependencies, all the configurations, all the repositories are here. So everything, all the information about your project, it's here, this package.json file. And whenever you do npm install, it's gonna read all this, and it's gonna install all these dependencies that you need to run the project. While this process is getting underway, I'm gonna explain some water, sorry. I'm going to explain the file structure. So we have client and we have services. Services is where the backend is. The file where the folder where the backend is. The backend, I mean the server, which is basically the only thing we're going to be doing today. Usually a large application has many different files. It's not just this one file that we have here. It's just that we're coding a very simple to-do application, to-do app. So but usually a large-scale application has a lot of files, not just this ones. And this is where the backend is, and then this is what the front end is. Notice how services is just straight onto JS, but then here's on the public, and then JS, because I'm gonna explain why this setup later. It's basically because I can tell you a little bit now. It's basically because we're gonna serve this file to our server. So we're gonna serve this everything inside the public file to all the static files to our server. So we want to have them in a public directory where we know everything that we want to share or send to the browser is gonna be there. So let me check if this is not done. Okay. So a couple things that we're going to be using: dependencies, Bootstrap, Babel. These are things that I used to build a project. Basically, Bootstrap is just like a theme for CSS and stuff. Browserify, things that I use. All these things that I use to build our application. Express is the server that we're going to use. Gulp is just, all this is just things that I use to build the application. If you read the README, I actually have instruction on how to set this up manually. but it's kind of tedious and it will take you quite some time. So if you just want to skip that, that's fine. Although if you become a full stack developer, you'll probably have to learn to do all that stuff. But I want you guys to focus more on coding, so I did it for you. Notice our index.js is simple and it's not have anything more than that. It's just gonna require the main folder from the services, and then it's gonna start a server. That's what this does basically. While this gets done, I'm gonna explain the index.js file. Oh, not this one, sorry. But I'm gonna explain the server. Okay, so this is a basic server that I already have set up. Once it's done installing, then I can show you guys Express, which is the server that we're gonna use. We don't need this path thing. We don't need that. We're storing this. We're starting up here, and then we're starting our server here. And when we are storing it here in this variable app, we're telling Express to use. So this is what I was talking about. All the public files that we want to send through our server are in the public directory. So all the files that we want to send to our server are in the public directory. That's why we're doing here this app.use, and then we're telling Express to use static files from the public directory. This app.listen, what it's basically doing is it's listening in the port 3000. So basically, it's done. So it's listening in the port localhost 2.3000. So that's basically what it's doing. What this is doing is it's waiting there to see if it gets any requests. That's what the URL is gonna be at. I'm gonna erase all these comments so my code is a little bit cleaner. There we go, and there you go. It's finally done. So we can actually go to close this, and we can go to oh, sorry. And the next command that you're gonna run is go after an npm. So if you guys haven't followed so far, the first thing I did was clone the repository from my repo. Then I changed the name to React To-Do instead of React To-Do setup. Then I run npm install, which install all these dependencies. And then this command that I'm gonna do now is gonna start everything, my whole process. There you go. Our app is live and running. So all this is what you call a build process. So whenever you hear someone say, "Oh, the application built successfully," that means all this process went through. And since we have a small application, it's only a couple lines, but usually in big applications, it's like a whole build process, which is like at least like a minute. It's like a whole thing, like a whole build process. So it's just a couple of setups that are going on right now here. So as you can see here, watching starting node index, that means starting the server. Not gonna go too much into detail into this because it could get very messy to explain, and I feel like we're gonna need a workshop just to explain this whole process. So kind of focus on the main thing, which is developing JavaScript. So we're gonna go here. Oh, it's already refreshed. There you go. So hello world, application is up and running. So if you got stuck, if something's not working, I'm gonna pause here. I'm gonna pause the video, but stop the video for a second. Ask for help. Comment below in the YouTube link. Comment in the comment section if you have any questions. Make sure that you did everything correctly. Read the README file, which tells you follow the steps. If you made it this far, which is good job. We still have a lot to go, so let's keep moving. The first thing that we're going to do is called our backend or our server. Why we want to do that? Because when we build the front end or the application, we want to test it against something that we actually know. We don't want to just code it out of nowhere. We want to test it, code it against something that we actually see, we can actually test, right? So it's better to build our backend first. I already kind of build it, so I'm just gonna not copy and paste, but I gonna pretty much follow the structure that I already had. Although I'm gonna go by line, so to explain you guys. Okay, so first thing that we're gonna do, it's import Mongoose. Like I said, we were using a MongoDB, right? Mongo database. So Mongoose is just a library that let Node speak to a Mongo, to the database. So that's what we're using here. So we're gonna do import Mongoose from Mongoose. Before I keep going, another thing that I want to touch is that this is ES6 syntax. What do I mean by ES6? It's ECMAScript 6. This is not what we're actually running, or this is not what the actual JavaScript that it's running. This is just gets compiled, like this whole process. What it's doing is just compiling our JavaScript into the JavaScript that we actually run, which is this one here. This is the JavaScript that we actually run. So I think it's called Polify. I'm not sure if that's the term, but basically the way it goes is that JavaScript has these things where it's called ECMAScript. ECMAScript 4, 5, 6, 7. There are some people using right now ECMAScript 7. Sorry, the ECMAScript that most people use now is ECMAScript 6. And what that means is that there are new features that are introduced into the language. But what happens is that browsers and things like Node don't update at the rate that this new ECMA features come. So what they do is that they create tools in order to convert this ECMAScript 6 things into older ECMAScripts 5 or 4. So this syntax that you see is actually ES6. So and then it gets converted to here EF5, which is an older version, but it's more readable by Node and it's readable by the browser. So, but thanks God we can use this. And it makes our life much easier. We're gonna use it a lot throughout this application. So you're gonna learn the newest, not just JavaScript, but you're gonna learn the newest trends of JavaScript. So import Mongoose is a ECMAScript ES6 thing. Then we're gonna connect to our database, MongoDB // host /todos. Right. If you install MongoDB successfully, then you should be able to run Mongo commands. Right. Oops. Wrong command. Oh, yeah, wrong command version. There you go. So, the use of a command from Mongo is right now. So, maybe I lost you guys there, but all I did is running Mongo from the command line. So I just type Mongo, and that's it. And if I do here show DBs, right, you don't see you only see two databases, and the one we're using is todos, right? So what we want to do is just type use todos, and the database gets automatically created. There's nothing in the database. If I do db.todos.find, there's nothing in there, right? So this is the way that typically JavaScript works. I mean, MongoDB works. It's just kind of like similar, very, very similar to JavaScript. So we're gonna keep doing using Mongoose. Mongoose is just a way to, like I said, it's just a way to connect to a Mongo database from Node. Then the way we store things on our database is by creating a model or a schema. I don't know how much you guys know about databases, but just basically create a schema for the database model. The name of the schema is to-do, and the way we want to set it up is that we want the to-do to be a string, because the to-do is going to be a string. The date to be type date, obviously. The default want to be date now. Why do we want it to be a date now? Because this is like a timestamp. We want to know when this to-do was created. And then we want to also know if it was completed or not. So this is type boolean, true for completed, false for not completed. We are setting the default to false because you shouldn't be able to create a to-do that's not completed. That it's already completed. And once we have this model, this is just a model schema, however you want to call it. We can start using our Mongo server, and you'll see soon how we use it. So all the routes, by routes I mean like how we're gonna handle the request from the front end, are gonna be created inside this function, this server function here. The first route that we're gonna code is apt-get, and what this does, app, remember, is a server, right? Express, we're using Express as a server, and that get is what this means is that we're using a get request. They're very different types of requests, but the main two that you guys should know is a get request and a post request. A get request is just a normal request, where the information is sent on the, you can see on the URL. A post request, it's where the information can send on the body and it's not visible in the URL. The post request is usually used for like things like user information, delicate information that you want to send to a server that you don't want other people to see in the URL. And a get request is just for any type of request. So we are letting our Express server know that this is a get request. And the route that we want to use is to do, or the link, the URL that we want to use. By route, I mean setting up the URLs that we want things to be called at. So it's this /save, /get /all. What it's basically gonna do is just gonna get all the list of all to-dos. It's gonna return one list with all the to-dos inside. And we're gonna have a callback function. So what is a callback function? That's a really good question. A callback function is basically, so let me talk about a little bit about Node. Node, it's an event-driven engine. What does event-driven means? That it's not multi-threading. It means you cannot do 5 things at a time. No. Then the way Node works is that it's event-driven. So whenever something, Node can tell another process, can tell someone do this. And once you're done, let me know, and I'll execute the code that you want to execute. So what does this mean? That Node tells someone, hey, go do this, and he'll write a note of what to do when this guy comes back when it's done. And you do that. When the guy come back, it will read the note and do whatever's in the note. That's what a callback is. So a callback function is just something that you pass in a method, and once this method returns, or once this method it's finished, it will execute the code inside the callback function. So inside this callback function, now there's another method of doing this which is called promises, but I'm going to explain that later on. Now, before I continue, so we created this to-do model here, and we're going to use this to-do model through our whole app to connect to a database and to do queries on our database. So the query that I'm doing here now, it's fine. I'm not passing any, notice how I'm not passing any parameter or anything like find this, find that. I'm just passing a callback function. Why? Because I want the model to find everything that it finds. So give me back everything that you find on this specific database. The first parameter that we get from the function, it's there. So actually we're gonna create another function here, bar log error and error, and it's gonna say if error console log. No, actually no. So, there you go. So, well, we're creating this this function here because we want every time an error occurs, we want to throw an error, not log it. Why not? Why don't we want to console log an error? By console log, I mean like writing it to the console and not raising anything out, raising any warnings or errors about it. Why do we want to throw an error? Because if we throw an error inside here, it will actually send it to the front end, and the front end will be aware that an error occurred, and not just like not just have nothing on what happened. So not know anything on what happened, why it didn't get the response that it wanted. So we want to log error, which is if an error occurs, then it will throw an error. If not, then response send todos. What is this doing? Let me expand these two parameters. So the request is the request object. It's just object that has information about the request that was made by the front end. By request, I mean like in Google, when you do this, for example, Google, that's a request. So you're requesting to get the information from the server at Google. Same thing. So when someone hits this endpoint on this URL, which is going to be something like localhost/get/all, right? When someone hits that, it's going to go to this function here, and all the values of the information about the request is going to be stored in this, and then the response is what we send him back. So that's what we do, response as send to do's. So let's save this and restart our server, because whenever we're doing routes, we do need to restart our servers. Although this is set so for the front end, you don't have to restart anything, you just automatically recompile it. For here, we'll recompile it, but you still need to restart the server in order to so you can reread the routes or the new URLs that you added. So here we can go back here and do this. Oh, sorry. /get all, and you get an empty. Perfect. It's working. Why do you get an empty? Because we don't have anything in the database here. We don't have nothing. The database empty, which is good that we're getting an empty. So since we want to add actually stuff to our database, the next thing we're going to do is the save route. So apt-get /save /todo, then request, passing the callback function with the response and the request. A really good question though, I think you guys probably asked, how do you know what's to get past this? This is depends on the library. So each library has a different way of saying what is passed where. So what parameters pass where, you know. For example, I know the Mongoose library always passes the error first. So it always passes the error as the first parameter. But the Express library, it passes request and it passes response. So whenever you are wondering what object am I gonna get, and by saying I'm gonna guess, but this means that when the callback gets called, also when, remember the example that I said that Node sends someone to do something and when it's returned or that person's back or that process back, it executes this callback function. Well, these two things are the objects that that person comes back with. So, for example, this is a very silly example, but if I tell my brother, hey, go get me a banana and a mango at Publix, right? And he's gonna go to Publix, he's gonna do whatever he wants, take forever. I'm not gonna worry about that. I'm just gonna know that he has to bring me a mango and a banana, right? So when he comes back with the mango banana, this is basically the mango and the banana. And I can just do whatever I want with it inside of here once it's back. So I hope you guys got that example. So we're gonna use here, gonna get it to do from the mango. Request that params. Right, this is an ES6 syntax trigger. Basically, this is the same as saying let todo equals request that params that todo, right? But it's just less code. It's the same thing. It's just basically telling to get the to-do property from params. Params is a property that Express puts on the request so you can get all the parameters that are passing the URL. I also didn't explain this. Now you guys might ask, what is this? Why does it have two dots in front or whatever? That just means that this is a parameter. By a parameter, it just means that instead of being a part of the URL, it's just a value that is being passed through the URL. And then you'll see what I mean when I run the example. Then we're gonna create a new model, a new to-do model. To do. Why do we do this? This is another syntax trigger from ES6, basically saying do this, to do. Basically saying get the value of the to do and assign it to another, create a new object with the property name, with the same property name. So get the value of to do and then create a new object with the same property name. That's basically what it's doing. It's just a syntax trigger. So we want to save this, like I said, and then, like I said, MongoDB, the first item that it always comes back with is an error. Let's save to do, and then we want to log error if it happened. If not, then we want to response, send, save, to do. And we're going to test this, and you see what I mean by parameter in the URL. Oops. Restarting the server. There you go. Right, and now we do save / first to do. There you go. Our first to do was saved into the Mongo database. Here it is. We did timestamp and everything. The ID was the completed created. Yeah. Yeah. I believe the completed was also created. Yeah, so we do get the R. There you go. Wait, hold on. The completed was not created. Hold on. To do string date. Date was created. Let me see why it's not delete that to do stuff. Oh wow, I didn't do the completed. Why? Or did I misspell? Oh, I put default. There you go. Silly mistakes. We can remove this one. I have to put this as whatever. I'll just remove it later on. But yeah, there you go. Fix the issue. Now we should be able to see completed there. So we do /save /fresh reminder. There you go. /save. Wait, not yet. Oh yeah, I have to restart the server. Fine. There you go. So restarting the server. There you go. And then we do this refresh. There you go. It's complete as false. There you go. So be careful. The elements, sometimes you misspell something and it just gives scales all over your application. Like, what is going on? It's because you misspell like one single thing. So in this case, I just misspelled this. I put default instead of default. But everything's fine now. So if I do / you can see all of them. Then what we're gonna do is code our remove route. So apt-get, still a get method, slash remove slash dot date, and then passing a callback function request response. Then we're using the syntax trigger to get the date from the parameters. Syntax trigger again, that converts a date. Remember, this is just the value from the date, and it creates a new object with the property date and with the value of date of this date here. And then we want to get there and delete to do. Right. Then we're gonna log here. And if there's not, then send the deleted to do. So why do we do this? There's another parameter in the URL. Notice like the parameter we do slash remove. Here we're gonna delete this one that we don't want. Boom. Oops. Got to restart the server. Gotta remove that one, what we don't want. That's what I mean by passing parameters in the URL. We literally passing the parameter through the URL. So it's not like a URL part of the URL, it's just the parameter. There you go. Okay, one, that means we removed it. The next thing we want to code is update. Basically the same pattern. Another get request. Update slash date slash parameter completed. In this case, we're passing 3 parameters instead of just one. To do. Finish coding this here. In this case, we're going to use the function find one and update. That just means find a specific record or document and update it. We're finding it by date, like we did this. Why are we finding it by date? Because the date has a timestamp. So there's only one date in the whole. It's like a key, a primary key. There's only one date in the whole document, so we can be very specific just by doing it by date. To do the only way that there's 2 same dates is that you add 2 to-dos very quickly, and even then it's gonna still be different by milliseconds. So you can never, I don't think you can trick that, because time is always going forward, never going backward. So find. Oh no, this is not what I'm looking for. I was looking at this. Find one and update. Find one and update. There you go. Find one and update. Basically, just finds one record and updates it. Finds it by the date. 2 things where we want to update are the completed, whether it was completed or not, and the to-do value itself. Then we're gonna say here new true because we want to. So remember how I said that my cousin will bring me mangoes and bananas? So basically what I'm saying here is that I'm updating it, right? So I'm telling him, look, I don't want this mango, give me another one. And what this is saying here by neutral is that if I want to get a new Mongo, if I want to bring me the new Mongo instead of just the old one. So in this case, I'm telling yes, bring me the new Mongo. And then the other parameter of the function is the callback. Air updated to do then we log and then here response. That's it. I did it. You kind of already know how this works. Not gonna go into the details of showing it on the browser, but this basically all the routings we need. We need to get all the to-dos in order to display them all. We need to get we need to save each one. We also need to remove them by date, which is the key, and we also need to update them. So this is it for our server. See how simple it was. Probably like 63 lines. Just this is it. We created our models. We created a simple function to help us throw one error whenever something comes up. After that, we can just close this and go ahead and start working on the front end. Like I explained to you earlier, all the front end stuff gets served to publics. Why? Because we want to send those files to the server. So this is what this is doing here. That is what this is doing in this line here. All the files in the public directory are getting sent to the browser, and it's starting loading here, right? So notice how I have this linked, this JavaScript. In order to run JavaScript on the browser, in the HTML you need to add this script, this right here, right? But notice how here we have from this /mod.js. Why? Remember how I said earlier that we actually not running this, we're running the compile version of this to another version of to a lower JavaScript ES5, which is this whole thing. It's a whole mess. I'm not gonna show it to you, but basically we get to enjoy all the ES6 stuff because we compile it and convert it so the browser can use it. So we're not gonna use this function. This is just so we can. Oh, actually, we are gonna use this, but not with this here. This was just so we can have a hello world. I do want to copy some stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna add this link to style sheets. Like I said, I hope you guys know HTML, CSS. It's very simple. Just if you don't, just take a look at it. It's very, very simple. It's not that hard. It's like probably take maybe a day to pick it up. HTML, CSS. To become an expert, it will take you more time. But to learn the basics and further understanding for this workshop, it's very simple. I'm just picking up some Bootstrap stuff that I need to plug in. And that, this is all set. There's nothing else over here. I do want to open a file that is do client. Yes, okay. So I can already build this. I'm not gonna waste too much time and thinking how to rebuild it again. But basically, one thing I'm gonna copy from here are the styles. This is similar to CSS styles. The only difference is that this is okay. So, for example, margin left to be margin left in actual CSS. Right, so it's camel cased, and then this is just basically simple stuff that I had to put. But notice how every time I make a change here, like it'll recompile our JavaScript and make sure that it says finish compiling JS. There you go, there it is. Finish compiling JS. So at this point, before I jump into the front end, let me stop and tell you guys, if you've made it this far, congratulations, good job, well done. If you're stuck, stop the video right now, go back, see what you've changed, what you did wrong, make sure that everything, go to the repo, to a finished product, to a finished app, and then see what's different, what's not working. If it's a matter of missing the dependencies in your environment or your laptop or something, missing programs that you need, then go through the README file and read everything you need. I'm pretty sure that listed at least 95% of everything that you needed. If there's something I missed, then just let me know and we can figure it out. Just leave a comment down in the comment section. But if you make it this far, we are 50% there, so we only have 50% more to go. Bear with me, we're almost done. If you're not, then if you've been there sitting down trying to figure it out and you can't get it to work, then just take a break, 15-20 minute break, however it'll take. Come back tomorrow, keep playing the video, watch into the end. I promise you, you'll learn a lot from this video, from this rest of. If you thought what we did was cool, which it actually was, we successfully created a server, connected to a database, and we are now about to pull data from those two places. So bear with me so we can build this rest of the application. So here we go. So the first thing we're gonna do is create a list holder. Why are list holders? Remember, we're getting a list back from the server with a list of all the to-dos, right? Of the to-dos. So we want to create, before I go into specific, well, let me create it first, and then using React for the front end. I think you guys already knew that. So React is a front end framework, or not, most like a library developed by Facebook. It's very fast due to React DOM. It's very fast. React DOM is just like a virtual DOM. You know how, maybe you don't know, but the HTML, it gets executed by the DOM. The DOM is DOM is it's kind of like the engine of the browser for HTML. So React has its own DOM. That's why you can do all this crazy stuff and be really fast. Now, although I did this with React, I rebuilt it on Angular. So for you Angular folks, I forgot about this. You can go to my GitHub and then look at to-do, and there you can see how to do it in to-do. Although that one is not connected to a backend, so you'll have to do that yourself, and it'll be kind of a challenge. Maybe you'll learn a thing or two doing that. So let's keep going. The way you create components, so the way React works is by components. You create different components that connect to each other, and the way to pass data into these components by props. Props are just think of parameters. Props are just parameters that are passed into components, because at the end of the day, React components are just functions, and I'm gonna explain why. They're just functions. They're just things that you use. You can put whatever you want, wherever you want. So yeah, let's get on it. The first thing you want to do is create a constructor. So what is this? What is this? Why we have class list holder extend? What are you like? What? This is Java and the JavaScript? Okay, so this is JavaScript, but ES6 has classes. So ES6 and the script 6 let us use classes. This is just a context. This is just a context sugar, because this basically gets converted to a function, something like this. probably convert to something like this, to be honest. This is just a context sugar, a fancy way of doing classes. And matter of fact, you can create a React component like this. And then return div. There, matter of fact, you can create a React component like that too. So, but the matter of this case, I'm gonna do it a class, which is like the way the documentation has it set up, and that way it's easy for you guys if you get lost to see what's going on. So we have a constructor. Like any class, you have to have a constructor. Props is just the arguments that are passed to this specific component. In React, call props, and then after that, we're not gonna set the state. We do have to set the state, so we're gonna do this the state. So a state, by state, what is a state? So a state is to hold specific, well, a state is to hold specific status or life cycle. It basically holds where your application is right now at the moment. That's what state is. Why do you have to keep state? Okay, so let's say you're in an application, right? And you click something, you click a button that says, I don't know, hold. And you go to another page in the same application, the same browser, you go to another page. And you go back, and the whole button is still clicked. You like, and maybe you never ask yourself why, but do you really think an application is gonna send that information to a database to store that you actually have clicked that button? No, it doesn't do that. So it saves a state of the application. It saves where your application is. It saves how is your application doing. Saves all that stuff. If you scroll down and you were reading something, it saves what you were reading. But it doesn't save in a database. That's too much work to save all the single details. It's a waste of space. So it saves it on a state, especially because you refresh the state goes away. Sometimes it doesn't, but most of the time, in most applications, it goes away. So that's why you have a state, because a state is just captures all the user input, everything that the user has done, and it just saves it, and it just makes it easy for you to to work with. For example, a very easy case that you probably use every day of life: the username and password. Have you ever noticed username and password saved? That's a state. That state is saved on your browser. So, not gonna go into much detail, but we want to save the state of the to-dos, of the list of to-dos. Why do we want to save the state of the list of to-do? Well, because since they're loaded from the backend, from the server, we want to save them in the front end somewhere, and the best place to save them is in the state. Why? Because the props are read only. That means we cannot change the props. Not that we cannot, but we shouldn't not. We shouldn't change the props. The props are just to read data from them, not to change them. Plus, we're gonna load the to-dos directly from our backend. So, in order to load our data, we're gonna go this list, and we're gonna import this library called request, right? Promise. Why request promise? So remember how I explained to you guys all about going to public, getting mangoes and other stuff. It's the same way. Now, in this case, instead of having a callback, which is basically a callback is something that I tell him, look, go get the mangoes, and here's a piece of paper with all instructions on what to do when you come back. That's what a callback is, basically, and it's executed by me, right? Instead of doing that, what we're doing is just waiting until he goes back, and then we're doing something with whatever the person brings us back, or in this case, the application. Another application brings us back. Why do I say that? Because you're gonna see now. Request. That then. Alright, so this is, every time you see this that then, that means it's a promise. A promise is that the same example. I'm gonna probably put the example throughout the whole. I'll finish this presentation. Every time I put if I send my cousin to get something, I'm creating a promise that I'm asking him, promise me that you're gonna return. No, but it's a promise is like it is a promise that he's gonna return and bring me back what I wanted. So that's why it's called promise, because I'm telling him, please go to Province and bring me mangoes, promising me that you're gonna return. And I'm storing the promise here. So that's what a promise is. So when a promise is complete, so when he comes back with the mangoes and bananas, I call this function that then, right? And that then, what it does is that I can use whatever he brought me, or whatever in this case brought in the application. In this case, what this method brought back were the list of to-dos. And this set state okay, so what I'm doing now, this is basically, you guys have seen this, it's just a function, but just a function, but instead of having like parentheses around the parameter, it's just ES6 lets you not have parentheses on the parameter. And notice how I'm returning, I don't have brackets or anything. That means I'm returning this right away. So since I was tagging a state, React has also this function called set state. That means that you set the state of the to-dos to be whatever the response from the object is. So, and why do I have to use JSON parts? Because the response from the server is not an object, it's actually a string. So yeah, so let's keep going. We also have to do this here, this load, this is equal, this, that bind. This is kind of weird. I understand it because I kind of know JavaScript, but it is kind of weird for the first eye. Basically, what this is doing is letting us use this inside of this function. What do I mean by letting us use? If we don't put this here, when we call this function, the keyword this, or the value of this, is going to be undefined. So we have to bind kind of this to this function. This can get very confusing if you don't know JavaScript, because this, even us developers get confused sometimes on what this is. So the keyword this in JavaScript, it's not like Java, which is set to something. The keyword this in JavaScript can be 4 different things, and I'm going to briefly explain. One of them is the default key the default binding, like the keyword this goes to is the global scope. So this automatically binds to the global scope. Now when using applications and stuff, they actually bind it to whatever they want. That's why sometimes we don't know what the keyword this is in this application. So, but this in general has 4 types of binding. The default one, which goes to the global document object, explicit, implicit, and when you create a new object. I'm not gonna go very into details into those because they're out of the scope of this project, and I didn't use them here. But if you want to read more about that, I will post a link down on the comments so you can see what I'm talking about. So let's keep moving. Let's keep going. So this fixes the problem, the issue of this, and then every React component must have a render function. When it's a class, it must have a render function with a return statement. Div. Why? It's just the way React works. And by the way, you can't not do this in React. Make another div here. Close it. No, can't do that in React. You have to have one tag enclosing the whole thing. So one tag enclosing the whole thing. So I'm gonna kind of copy and paste this part because it's already done, and it's just HTML. Oh, before I copy and paste this, we gotta to talk about component did mount. So this is a JavaScript lifecycle function. What do I mean by lifecycle? React lifecycle function. What do I mean by React lifecycle function? Okay, so React has different lifecycle stages. Rendered, component did mount, component will mount. In this case, component did mount is the state where React already rendered for the first time. By render means it run this code here. It compiled it into HTML for the first time, and it's gonna call this function. React has I think around like 7-8 stages. This is like the first stage. I think it's rendered, component will mount, component rendered, then component did mounted. It's like 7 stages. For more specification, you can see some references on the React GitHub, Facebook documentation. But in this case, the reason why we put it in here is because we want to wait until this component loaded and rendered already for the first time before we load everything. So here we're gonna call this the load list. And then that's gonna make sure that we load all the to-dos from our Mongo database and server that we set up. And then let me format this. There you go. So we are formatting. Okay. So there's gonna be some issues here, I believe. Yeah, so we need to add to do. So how we access information from the state? We just do this Remember, these are just ES6 sugar to get to do. And then let's save this. Make sure it compiles. If it doesn't compile, it means there's something wrong. Okay, so there's something wrong. Oh, by the way, you guys might ask, why do I need to put this? Oh, I know what's happening. So this function has to be, you only have to call this function once to the whole app. But you guys might ask also, why does this doesn't have to do the same thing as this? We don't have to do this with these functions because this is part of a React ecosystem. So React automatically knows what this function is, but React doesn't know what this function is. So that's what we need to do with this one, but not with this one. I believe there is an error somewhere. Can find it there as oh. Disorder extend React component props super props. Yeah, so you have to pass the props to the super too. Okay, this is correct. Oh, okay. It's fine. There you go. So there's first this. Oh. Let's see what's going on. Oh, I know what's going on. So let's take this over here. Why is it? Okay, so this is working. Am I pinning maybe? So this low list, let's do. Okay, so I'm debugging right now. I'm not sure why the app's not rendering. Unless check all. Yeah. So let's see what's going on. Let's go forward this. Oh yeah, todos. There you go. I was misspelling that. Just like simple mistakes can mess you up really, really bad. Let's wait until just finish compiling. There you go. Now we should be able to refresh this. No. And we get a 0. Why do we get a 0? Click console log here. To-dos. Want to do a length equal to 1 equals 0. Or greater than k equals 0 or 1. We want to wait until JavaScript is finished compiling. There you go. And refresh this. This is weird. I'm not getting anything back. Okay, so there's something wrong with this application. Placeholder. Render class placeholder. This is upper case. Then React component constructor sub. Placeholder. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay. The restarting the server. Okay, so oh, here it is. There you go. so that this is empty. Oh wow, HTTPS. I don't know what that is. We're going to do this. Finish compiling. There you go. Wow. Notice how I spent 20 minutes fixing the bug. How a single HTTPS, just an S here, messed everything up. Be careful, folks. Single letter can mess the whole application up, and then you go crazy for 10 minutes looking what the bug is. So now that it's done, we can move on and keep coding our applications. Now that we did this simple component, I'm gonna finish the to-do. I'm gonna do this component here, and notice how I have this in this component. That means I'm passing the parameters date, completed, and to do as props. So we're gonna create this other component here. Constructor again. By the way, I'm gonna close the Mongo shell because my computer is burning. Super props, right? And this React component is very simple. All we want to do is render render the date. So basically all we want to do is display the date and the to do in this component. So remember how we have a timestamp. We want to format that timestamp. So we just copy the format from here. And then return. Just gonna copy this part because it's already built. I don't want to go into specifics. We format this. There you go. So putting a couple of styles and then putting a value of the date. Oh, this is something I have to explain to you. So I'm putting the value of the input to the date. So when I change this, I can update it in the database. So I'm going to remove this from here for now, and also let me import the moment. import moment, right? And you're gonna see how nicely it looks. There you go. So I'm gonna refresh this. Okay, so looks like I misspelled something. Oh, maybe it's not. There you go. I'm gonna refresh again. What? Oh, misspelling for what? There you go. So this finish compiling. There you go. Let me refresh this. Wow, still complaining. Completed of no. Oh yeah, so yeah, this is, take this off. Actually, I'm gonna take this off. I'm actually gonna code it and explain it as I code. I'll basically change this, that, handle change. Okay, so what are we doing here? So basically what we're doing here is we are handling the input type checkbox. So we can, every time if the user, when the user clicks a so before that, let me show you this, how it works without setting it up, so you can see. So I'm setting the state, right? I also want to do, just want to do this, that, handle change equals this, the handle change dot bind, this, and then there you go. We'll just finish compiling, yes. Refresh this. There you go. So looks very nice, right? Couple styles that I just put. This is, so you can see this is not working, but we'll fix that in a minute. So why isn't it working? So what I was trying to do, and what I'm trying to do now, and this is why handle change here. I have this handle change function. So this checked here, it's basically reading from here, it's reading from the database if this specific button is checked or not, if it's completed or not. If it's completed, it will have a check mark. If it's not completed, it won't have a check mark, right? So actually, no, the way we're going to code is that if it's completed, it will just display it down here, and then if you click on it, it will just be removed from here. So that's why we're doing here. We're doing the opposite of what we already have. So if we have completed, if you click on it, then it will be to not completed. If it's not completed, you click on it, it will be to completed. So that's why it's the opposite. So whatever you click is going to be the opposite. So that's why we have that there. And then I want to get the date, the to-do of this specific from the parameters. Remember, the parameters have the props. Then you want to set state completed. Why do we want to set the state? Remember how it wasn't working before? Like when you click here, it doesn't work. It's because it's not updating the UI. So by doing this, it's going to update this click to actually show with a check mark. So then I'm just going to copy from here because it's already working. This remember the link, the server that we coded it with the update method, or with the update route. So this is basically what we're hitting with the request, and then if it's successful, we just console log update it. That is basically it for our to-do box component, which to-do box holds every single to-do. And then once this is finished compiling, there you go. We can refresh this. You can click, you can unclick, click, click. And you update in the database. So if I actually refresh this, oh sorry. But if we go click on it, we refresh it. See how it says clicks? That means it's actually saved in the Mongo database. So we actually saved the state by hitting the URL that we had coded before in our server. So this component is basically done. And let me stop here for a minute. You guys can, if you've gotten this far, we are about 85 to 90% done. We only have 15% to go. Just stick with me, finish up. We're almost done. If you're stuck, if you haven't figured out, if you don't know, have any idea what's going on, go back, watch the video again, listen to some of the things I said, look at the links below that I'm gonna post, that I'll post it there, so you can kind of follow, have an idea, or go to my GitHub and you can see the app already finished, and then compare, see what you're doing wrong, or what it is that you don't have, or something that you're missing. Could be you saw earlier I got stuck just by a single S on the HTTP request. So go through your code, analyze everything, make sure you have typed everything right, you don't have any mistakes, and good luck. I hope you can catch up. If you're already here, congratulations, you're almost done. Almost have like 15% left. Yeah, let's keep going. Like I said, if you do not know what's going on, if you're struggling, stop the video, ask for help, try to figure it out, try to catch up to here, and then resume playing the video, so it'll be easier for you to follow instead of just being lost. Okay. Okay, so now we're gonna finish this main structure, this main component. So the way we're gonna do it, we're gonna add a couple of text code here. So we're gonna have an h3 tag. I'm just gonna copy and paste because, like I said, it's already done. Here, then a form. form that I already have done. So this form, it's the form of where we're gonna type our to-dos. We do need to add a couple extra functions like handle, submit, and then an event is passed. This event it's created by React. React gives us an event as an event parameter. Yeah, it gives us this, and then we can get some information from the event. JavaScript event. JavaScript events are triggered by the browser. Whenever a user clicks something or a user inputs something, that triggers an event, and then that JavaScript catches that. So every time a user clicks something or input or does something in the browser that it's input, then JavaScript, the browser triggers an event, and JavaScript can catch that event and do something with it or react to that event. So in the submit, what we're going to do is just some of the things that I didn't explain here is this ref element. This is a purely React thing. This is not HTML. This is just from React. It has this ref attribute where you can just pass a function. There's a function here, and I'm just setting this the element, element to element. So I'm just setting this the element equal to this element. That's it. That's what I'm doing. And then in here, maybe it's easy if I name it if I do input element, there you go. That must be easier to understand probably. Input element. There you go. There you go. So that's quite easy to understand. Basically what I'm doing is just getting the element. I'm actually getting the element, so this input element, and getting the value from it directly. Then from there, we're gonna do another request that we coded before. Oh, not this one, sorry. This one here. So let me copy and paste. Why do we have this if statement here? Because this could be empty. So you might just press enter with an empty, and we don't want to send an empty request. So that's why we put it if it's not empty here. If this is empty. If this is not empty, then save the to do. And then we just console log saved. And then we just do this. We just reload the list from the server. And this does input. That input element value. We reset the value to just nothing. And then we do this prevent default. Why do we do that? Because sometimes elements can, input buttons can act a little funky, so we want to do this to prevent the element from doing any kind of crazy stuff. To prevent the input from doing any kind of crazy stuff. So yeah, let's see. There it is. Oops. forgot to do this. This dot handle submit. Data handle submit dot line. This. There you go. Refresh. Not sure if it, there you go. Oh, it should be. There you go, and we can add reminders. There you go. And then we're almost done. We're about 95%. We're just gonna code the last part. You guys ready? If you made it this far, congratulations. It's been interesting. But we're just gonna finish. We're just gonna put, for example, this, and this. We wanna take them out of here and put them in another list where it's already completed list. So to do that, basically what we're gonna do is just gonna copy this part from here. And what this is, I explain to you guys. So let me explain to you guys so you guys don't get lost. Oops, did I do something? Yeah, I did. Right, so this is condition rendering. So this means that if this condition is true, then this will render. Otherwise, it won't. So if the code to-do's length is greater than or equal to 1, then this is gonna render. If not, then it will not. In React, that's called conditional rendering. So you can use any type of logical operation. You can do or, you can do and I don't think I explained this yet, but basically in React you can use normal JavaScript functions, so like functions like map, filter, which I'm going to use now here. JavaScript has functions. Lists have functions that are functions from the list. Functions that are from the list that you can use, like filter, map, and reduce. Main three functions that people use. Map basically go through each element of the list and modifies it and returns something new. Reduce, it's to get different elements of the list, and then filter, what it does, it just gives you an element that the function that you give it returns true for. So basically here I'm using filter, right? And it's returning the elements that to do completed is true. So if it's completed, it will just send it to this here, right? And then to-dos, I can do the same if I want to get the to-dos, but opposite, the ones that are not completed. Because remember, these are coming from the database, so I don't know yet which are completed, which are not. I mean, I do, but I need to filter them, right? And then you also need to add, so to explain the difference, JavaScript has this functions. Well, I already explained them, but has very a lot of utility functions from arrays, actually lists that you can use, arrays that you can use, or list, not arrays, actually lists that you can use. I'm gonna code this last part, which is the delete part if you want to remove, so you know what I mean. So here I'm using the map to return an actual, in React you can do this, using the map to return an actual HTML element. So I'm returning different HTML elements, and that's you can see a bunch of them here. The map is returning an HTML element for each one of them, and React actually converts that to an HTML to a HTML CSS and HTML, and it just re-renders it all the time. So the last part I'm gonna code is this part here, this handle button. This is basically the remove button. So if you want to delete a specific to do, here doesn't work now, but we're gonna make it work. So from the event, I'm getting the target. The target is just the HTML element. So that's just the HTML element, and then from the HTML element, I'm getting the value. Then I'm going to copy from here, because this is already working. I don't want to waste any more time, because we're running out of time. And then basically, from here, as you guys probably know what you're going to do, but it's going to load the list again, and then event prevent default. I'll kind of format this a little bit. There you go. So to explain what I'm doing here, basically I'm just getting the target event is giving me, so the event comes from this event, and the event comes from this HTML element, right? So I'm getting the element, so the target is the element, so this, and I'm getting the value. The value is the date of the to-do, which, remember I said at the beginning, we're using the date to remove the to-dos, because the date are specific keys in the Mongo database. So that's why we're using the date to remove or update. The same, so if you want to remove it, we just get the date. That's why we do event.target.value, and then we just hit the endpoint that we coded before on our server, and then if we're successful, then we just console log remove. We reload the list, and then we prevent default. We prevent this button from doing the default behavior. Let's refresh this, see if it worked. Oops. Oh yes, I keep forgetting that we have to do this, that. And the button, so we go to this, that, and the button, that, line, this. There you go. There you go. Oh, still not. There you go. There you go. We can add this. Save. There you go. And our app is complete. So to recap, just basically, it's a lot of things to kind of graphs. If you didn't understand, you can always go back part of the video, read again. This is the React part of the app. The front end, all the logic in the front end is I basically coded two components: to-do box and list holder. List holder holds all this list, so it's just one component. To-do box, it's rendering multiple times, so it's rendering, this is one to-do box, this is another to-do box, this is the third to-do box. and it just has a simple input which tells you if it's completed or not completed. And it updates to the server, the API endpoint that we coded a while back, if you guys remember. We also displaying the date here. You can see here. Then this component has most of the logic. We're saving, we're removing, and we getting loading all the to-dos that we already that we're storing on Mongo database. It's probably a lot of taking. If you guys have any question, please leave them below. If you don't understand something in the video, always you can always go back, look at the documentation of the things that I've used, React, Mongo, Express, ES6 for JavaScript, stuff like that. Maybe just go back, read a little bit, and come back and watch the video. Hope you guys have fun. See you next time.